Welcome to Women with Drive, a podcast from the Deakin Melbourne Boomers, talking all things women's hoops, hosted by Boomers' own Lou Brown. Women with Drive.
Okay, hi everyone listening or maybe watching our first episode. I'm so thrilled to be able to welcome you to Women with Drive, a podcast brought to you by the Deakin Melbourne Boomers. My name is Lou Brown and I'll be your host. So as well as playing as an athlete for the Melbourne Boomers in the upcoming WNBL season, my passions include journalism and media and pretty much all things women's hoops. So Women with Drive, we'll be talking and covering everything in women's Aussie hoops, and we'll be giving you some exclusive insights on Melbourne Boomer athletes as they play across the globe and prepare for the 41st season of the WNBL tipping off in November. Women with Drive will bring targeted coverage of Australian women's basketball as we continue to close the gap of media coverage and celebrate our amazing Aussie female hoopers across the world of basketball. Australian women's basketball has a rich history of success. Names such as Lauren Jackson, Michele Timms, Rachel Spawn, Penny Taylor, and Robin Ma, just to name a few. But over the next 18 months, our current generation have an amazing opportunity, both at home and on the international stage, to continue this legacy and make their own history. This begins next week in Tokyo, when the Opals start their Olympic campaign. And what a few days it has been in their preparation, but more on that to come in a little with Michele Timms. So after Tokyo comes the WNBA playoffs in September, with several Aussies right in the battle for that championship. So September's a big month, because also in September on our own soil, we have the NBL1 National Playoffs. October sees the next edition of the Asia Cup to be hosted in Qatar. The Opals will head there off the back of Tokyo to take on fellow Olympic teams Japan, China, and Korea, and then be joined by the New Zealand Tall Ferns. I mean, all this women's basketball action leads us to then the exciting 41st season of the WNBL, which opens in November. So much more to come on that after Tokyo. But what we're really excited about for the WNBL, a return to a full 21-game home and away schedule, arguably the strongest talent level in the history of the WNBL as Australian and international athletes bring their games to our league. Fans across Australia will have the opportunity to see Australian stars such as 2020 League MVP Stephanie Talbot, emerging superstar Ezi Magbagor, Opals captain Jenna Hay, and 2020 Grand Final MVP Leilani Mitchell, all fresh from their Olympic campaign. In fact, 9 members of the Opals Tokyo team will be playing in the WNBL this season. And added to this is exciting emerging Australian talents such as Shyla Hill and some of the strongest American players out of the WNBA ever seen in this league. So much to discuss once we get past Tokyo, and that's before we get to next year when we move into the FIBA qualifying tournament for the Women's World Cup in February. And finally, the Women's World Cup in Sydney in September 22. I get goosebumps just thinking about what's in store. But what a huge 18 months for women's basketball in Australia and our fans. So if you're a basketball fan, lover of women's sports, or just enjoy hearing from great guests and conversation, just settle back and subscribe to Women with Drive. Available on all the normal places you can find your podcasts, and maybe even be able to watch it on the Melbourne Boomers YouTube channel. But let's first focus on Tokyo. Before we are joined by our special guest, Michele Timms, I have a little teaser for you, a great piece on Tess Madgen shot and edited by the wonderful Adam McKay. This has been beautifully put together on a beautiful person and what it means for Tess to be an Olympian and a little bit on her journey.
Women with Drive.
To be an Olympian, I think, is every person that loves sport, every child's goal when they're growing up. I know when I was little, I got to watch the Sydney Olympics, the home Olympics, and that really ignited my dream to one day be in their footsteps. So yeah, I'm super stoked that it has happened. I knew if I worked really hard, I would give myself a really good shot of making the team. The thing I'm looking forward to most is getting out on court with the other 11 of my teammates and going to battle against the best players in the world. I think any time in any sport you pull on the green and gold, you just go to another level. I guess it's just like innate that you want to do anything you can to represent your country with pride and give it your best effort. So When you pull in the green and gold, everyone kind of has that mindset, and then when you can come together as a collective with that in mind, that everyone is going to do whatever they can and perform at their best and have each other's back, it just automatically generates such an amazing culture. The goals I would like to achieve before I retire are winning a WNBL championship. Growing up, I wanted to play in the WNBL, play in Europe, play in the WNBA, go to a World Cup and go to an Olympics. So I've done all of those, and now as a team, I'd just really love to win a WNBL championship.
Women with Drive.
A great piece on Tess Madgen, who after such a journey and at the age of 30 is heading to her first Olympics. The full version will be released later this week and can be found on the Melbourne Boomer social channels. Right now, all eyes are on the Olympics, our Opals. I mean, what an exciting group. Experienced on the international stage and drawing on their quality of work from the WNBL and WNBA. There really could be no one better to share their thoughts and insights than someone who really needs no introduction, but we love saying it anyway, 2-time Olympic medalist, WNBA All-Star, Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, FIBA Hall of Famer as a player, and now, of course, founder and coach of the Michele Timms Basketball Academy. Welcome, Michele Timms. Thank you so much for joining me today, Timmsy.
Thanks for having me, Lou, and what is the most exciting time for not only women's basketball, but for men's basketball as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a huge 18 months ahead of us, but of course, the Opals are in Vegas, and they've just lost Liz Cambage. I mean, over the past couple of days, what are your reflections of that?
Well, you know what, I was kind of exhausted, to be honest, thinking about it and just following the media. Anyway, all that aside, it was a huge 48 hours for the Opals.
Yeah.
But I think it leaves a wonderful opportunity for a lot of young Opal players and the Opals to see what they look like without Liz.
You lose Liz Cambage, and then within 24 hours, the Opals are suiting up against the USA in a come-from-behind win. I mean, what does that say then? A complete 24-hour turnaround, 360, to go out and get a huge win against the USA in preparation for the Olympics. What do you think that means for the Opals in preparation?
Well, I think, Lou, to me, that sent a loud message, and that this is the path they were wanting to take without Liz, and that they're happy to, I guess, see what they look like, what their brand's going to look like now. And they ran on fumes that game. That was such an emotional game for them, and they stood up to the test. And I think it's really exciting for the Opals to see what they're going to become in the future, what we're going to look like now at the Olympics and further down the track. And it's, as I said before, it's a great opportunity for so many of the young Opals. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, this is like an Olympic team or like an Australian team that hasn't been around for a very, very long time, in that there's no Lauren Jackson, there's no Penny Taylor, there's no Liz Cambage, there's no superstar to put the team on their back. And so the team now, and this is where it's kind of exciting for me, is that I feel like it's very much an Opals team of old, like my era, when we didn't have, this is before Lauren Jackson, of course, when there was no superstars, and and the Opals are very blue collar, so don't get me wrong in this, but you just had to roll up your sleeves and really just go out swinging and leave everything on the table, which they do already, but we had a really big focus in the past with some big superstars playing the game. So now they've got to get back and just do it as a team in the old-fashioned way, you know. So I'm really excited to see, and we got a glimpse of it against the USA when that was just absolutely fantastic. And I've got to say, I've always said with Liz there that if Liz isn't in the Opals, we're not a medal contender. But boy, after watching the way the Opals played against the USA a few nights ago, I have definitely changed my mind. I mean, this team, they play like that. Their defensive intensity was just fantastic. And the way they passed the ball around, they slashed their cuts. There was no middle pace. At halftime, I was thinking, gee, this is going to be a long night for the Opals because we were living and dying by the 3-point line. We didn't have enough dribble penetration or pass penetration inside the key. We didn't have that target in the middle. But then I thought Sandy did a fabulous job coaching and corrected those things after the break. And we had a wonderful mix of inside, outside, dribble penetration, pass penetration, and really I think took the USA by surprise. And our intensity for the whole 40 minutes was super.
Women with Drive.
This is a new journey for the Opals. It's a new beginning. And I think that yes, without Liz, it's a change of game style for us. But I think if this wasn't just running off fumes and the adrenaline of what had happened in the last 48 hours with Liz, if this is the new Opals and they can sustain that through the Olympics, I think we can win a medal.
No, they can absolutely make a run in the Olympics, and they showed that. And I think you said it best. I mean, when they came out in the third quarter, defensive pressure was on them. There was heat on the ball from the beginning, but the ball movement, they were putting the US in defensive rotations 3-4 times in the possession and just finding wide open shots and then sticking those open shots, which they absolutely have the players to do as well. And then you watched Ezzy and Mariana Tolo just taking it at Brianna Stewart, and then you've got Brittany Griner in the key, and it was water off their backs, and I think it was really promising to see, and it gave the whole country of Australia something just really excited to look forward to. But look,
I've got to say, to interject there, I was really happy with Ezzy. I've seen her show bursts of that throughout her career so far, but to play 40 minutes and have such an impact and show us everything she's got was absolutely fantastic. And that's just the start for her. She's just going to get better and better. We all have potential, but now there's a big opportunity for her to really to show everyone what she's got and use it as a stepping stone for the future. And I thought that also Beck Allen was super as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be really exciting viewing and just watching this team evolve and grow. No,
absolutely. And I know she's coming off her WNBA season this past year, and I know she's having an absolute stellar season. She's coming off career highs and points and scoring. So she has that momentum and that confidence building into the Olympics, which is great for herself and great for the Opals as well.
Women with Drive.
And thanks, Timsy, for your time. We'll be able to catch her next episode to talk about the Opals' first matchup against Belgium next Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Melbourne time. Also, so much more to look forward to from Women with Drive. I'll be interviewing Australia's greatest ever basketballer, Lauren Jackson. Yes, you heard right, Lauren Jackson. And we'll get a chance to pick her brain a little about what it's like at the Olympics for an athlete. And we'll also be hearing from Melbourne Boomers head coach Guy Malloy, another basketball expert, where we'll get a chance to break down some Olympic games and talk more basketball. So much great basketball ahead of us that you will not want to miss. Thank you so much for listening. I'll leave you here. So make sure you stay up to date with all our episodes. So to do that, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And if you get a chance, we'd love for you to rate and review all our episodes. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Women with Drive, hosted by Lou Brown. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and if you could, leave us a review.